Today I wanted to share with you my Vipassana experience. I have actually done 2 Vipassanas and I think I'm ready for another one. But I've actually done 2 and I want to share about my first experience, and then I'll probably do my second experience in another video. Now, as I was preparing for this video, you can't see it. I'm gonna have to zoom in. I got a mosquito bite on my cheek, like literally under my eye. And I just paused for a moment and realized, like, wow, my main issue right now when recording is because I got a mosquito bite, but I'm in the jungle, so that's to be expected. And if I were to show you the amount of birds that just showed up around me as I'm recording, 3 canary-looking birds. I don't know if they're canaries, but it's as if they're like ready to be a witness to what I'm saying. Kind of cool. A lot of the videos that I've seen so far have a certain demographic that has experienced Vipassana, and I want to add into that conversation my experience. So let's get into it while the sun starts to set and I start to get that sunset glow. So, Vipassana, what is it? There are many videos that explain it in depth, but for general explanation, Vipassana is to see as it is. The Vipassana course as a whole is a multiple day span. There's 3 days, there's 10 days, there's 20 days, there's 30 days. And I believe the most common one is the 10-day silent meditation. So you are sitting in meditation for over 100 hours throughout the span of 10 days at a center. The Vipassana courses are donation-based as well. The idea of something being free can really attract many people, but I'm making this video for people to have a certain perspective before going into it. Now, Vipassana itself, yes, it's a technique that was, I guess, discovered 2,500 years ago. It's been something practiced by the Buddha. And this man named S.N. Goenka, who has passed away, was the first to develop the technique to bring it to the masses in a more organized fashion. And so because of him, I was able to experience Vipassana. So my very first one was in India. I went to India and it was for my birthday. I decided as a birthday gift to myself to go within, to learn more about myself, to shed certain layers and do something different. Did I know all of the benefits of Vipassana? Did I know all of the challenges Vipassana would bring? No, I didn't. I actually didn't go into too much of the thinking mind of researching and trying to figure out. I just knew at that time within my yoga practice, I wanted to deepen my relationship with meditation. And there were certain meditations out there that I was aware of at the time. I believe one of my yoga teachers or another student that was going to the same yoga studio that I was going to had mentioned Vipassana. And during that time, there was a lot going on in my life. I wanted more. I wanted more answers for the challenges that were happening. And I wanted something different. And instead of throwing myself a party, instead of doing what I would have usually done, I decided to do something completely out of the norm and go halfway around the world to a foreign country and to sit in silence. Honestly, when do we have that? When do we have a chance to do that? Nowadays. When do we have a chance to actually sit in silence? Some people can't sit in silence for 5 seconds without checking their phone, without, talking finding some sort of distraction. And so for me at that time, I was very active physically and I was training my body, and I wanted to deepen my awareness and my mind, the training and the practice of meditation to look within, and find the answers within. And so Vipassana was the answer for me at that time. My first experience, I went with two of my close friends. Now, those two had not met before. So that was a whole nother experience in and of itself. But I did go with two of my friends. We flew from New York to Thailand, spent some time in Thailand celebrating my birthday, and then from Thailand we flew to India, where the Vipassana Center was. I chose this specific Vipassana Center because it was not too far from the Buddha tree, the tree where it's believed that Buddha found enlightenment. And so for me, understanding yoga, understanding the powers of our energy and energy fields and auras, if I'm seeking answers, enlightenment, to deepen my awareness, why not be in the space of what we know in this lifetime to be where someone has reached enlightenment? That was my thought, and I love moving with intention, so I intentionally chose that center. Getting there was a journey. Now I heard that they built a new airport that allows for you to get to the center a lot quicker than we did. So when I went, there wasn't that, and we had to fly into an airport that was 5 hours away driving. And so the drive there was a journey. And that was my first time driving in India, or that part of India. And for me, I drive fast, but it wasn't even the speed. It was the lack of order within driving. Like literally there would be moments a car was moving towards us, directly in front of us in this opposite direction. And in this last split second, they each would veer off to their designated sides and act as if nothing has happened. That was my experience driving there. So my friends fell asleep. I was like a hawk, stayed up, watching the driver, watching his every movement to make sure he got us from point A to point B. We arrived at the Vipassana Center and you go through registration. Once you go through registration, you give them all your belongings. You give them your life and they lock it up. Your phone, your laptops, passports, anything that's related in identifying you, it's locked up and put away. So you are stripped of your identification, your external identification. You're stripped of that, right? Just right at the forefront. No distractions. You're stripped away from distractions. And for me, I enjoy the company of myself. I enjoy my own company. I do. I enjoy the company of others. But for those that don't or haven't experienced being alone for a substantial amount of time, this can be a challenging experience where you find yourself seeking those distractions and falling into those habits that you probably would if you were in your home alone. You are assigned a room or housing. So for me at that center, thankfully enough, I was able to get a solo room. And usually for first timers, you were put into the dorm. I selected to have a single room, and I was blessed with that, where I could be with myself during this experience. I obviously love my friends, but throughout the journey, there were some challenges. And the thing is, they say when you decide to go to Vipassana, the Vipassana starts right when you make that decision. Your journey starts when you make that decision to go into something as challenging as Vipassana. And so throughout the journey, there were different challenges that were coming up for each of us that really hit a peak on our way, our last part of the journey to arriving at the Vipassana Center. So when they were assigning rooms, we were all kind of holding our breath to find out if we were going to continue the challenges that we experienced throughout the journey, also in the retreat center. But we were all given our own separate rooms. With that, within the rooms and the dorms, you have Western style toilets or Eastern style toilets. And their definition, or the difference between the two, is Western style toilets are, for those of you that are watching that are from the US or from the UK, you have used a Western style toilet for the majority of your life. Eastern style toilets are literally holes in the ground that go straight into the sewage, straight into the earth, and which requires you to squat. So you're assigned your room, you're assigned the dorm, and you take all your belongings. Certain things get locked up in a safe, and then your clothing and toiletries, you take that with you into your dorm. Now, in terms of your schedule, I will leave a screenshot of the schedule right here. It is a very strict schedule, if I do say so myself. You're waking up early, you're meditating. Then you are having breakfast, and then you meditate. And then you're having lunch, and then you meditate. And there is no dinner. It's a tea or a light snack. And then you're going to discourse, which is a session to listen to S.N. Goenka shed more knowledge, more awareness, more of the educational aspect of what you will be experiencing throughout your Vipassana course. Every Vipassana center is vegetarian or vegan based in terms of the food that they provide. And the way that the center organized everything, it was very easeful for me. So the meditation halls were in the center. Every center, from what I understand, is split between men and women. So there was never a time where I interacted with a man, except during registration. And then during the meditation halls were split men and women. And even my meditation teacher, the person that I would go to if I had questions, was also a woman. And so keep that in mind as well. They advise you to be covered up and respect the space in terms of attire. The very first session is when they give you your assigned seats, your assigned space, your assigned meditation pillow for where you would be meditating every day for the 10-day span. I was near one of my friends, and another one was two rows in front of me. There are a set of rules and disciplines, a code of conduct, if you will, to follow, and I would put that screenshot in right here. So when they say silent meditation, it is true. You are not talking and you're not communicating. Communicating can also be through your eyes. And so when you go to one of these retreats, be mindful and know that you won't be talking at all. There's no writing, no reading, no working out. The only source of movement or method of movement that's allowed is walking and light stretching, especially for sitting for long periods of time. One of the rules that I thought was interesting is that we weren't allowed to point the soles of our feet towards the teacher, or our feet in general towards the teacher. That was a sign of disrespect. And so if you needed to stretch your legs out, you would have to point it in a different direction. So for the first few days, it was more physical for me. And the soreness is what really got to me. And so for some people, it may be physical, it may be mental, where things that you have suppressed will start to make its way up to the surface. So if you are a very fearful person, some fears may come up. Things that have happened to you in your past may rear its ugly head for you to see and experience and allow to move through. But the entire program for me was this practice of allowing things to arise and then pass away. I went in April. Again, it was my birthday gift. And that time in India is one of the hottest seasons, if not the hottest season. So our experience was heat, extreme amount of heat. For me, that seemed to escalate or deepen the practice. There was heat, there were mosquitoes. It was a challenging experience. So if there's something calling you to go to experience of Vipassana, I would be mindful in where you currently are in life, like what is actually happening in your life at that moment. Because as I mentioned, it will amplify a lot. It will show you, who you are, where you are, what you are in that moment. Many people that come out of Vipassana say it's an amazing experience, it changed their life. But then there are a lot of other people that hated the experience. It was probably the worst thing that they had to do. It was probably the most challenging thing that they had to do. Because everyone is different. Everyone is going through different experiences in their life that they may or may not be able to handle if it was placed right in front of them. All of it right in front of you, wrapped in a bow. Here are all your challenges. Did I prepare for Vipassana? Not really. I just knew I had a willingness to experience, to be open, to learn, to grow, to expand. And I had the courage to just give it a try. You are in this position, you're given this opportunity to see yourself. And in order for us to see ourselves, we need to remove all of the distractions that we have latched onto. So throughout the Vipassana, it's a practice of equanimity. It's a practice of impermanence, where things arise and then they pass away. But it's in creating our own suffering arises when we either have an aversion to or a clinging for that thing. And so as you deepen your practice with Vipassana, you start to learn and realize the state of impermanence, where you experience something, you realize that at one point or another, it may or may not be there, right? So if it's something that's causing you challenges, realize that it's not going to be there forever. If it's something that's causing you a lot of joy, realize that it may not be there forever. So you're in this space of center, of equanimity. And for many, that can be a very challenging thing to experience, especially in a society that feeds into clinging and aversions, wanting you to be dependent on, let's say, medication, or dependent on a partner in a relationship, or dependent on fill in the blank, whatever it is. And then on the other side, having aversion for avoiding cancel culture, all of these things that creates an aversion towards that thing. And that aversion essentially will bring that thing back to you anyways. So the attachment, the clinging, the craving versus the aversion, the rejection, the not wanting. And for me, Vipassana allowed for those two to become one in the sense of being in the center and realizing that everything is impermanent. So the first few days was more physical, and then I started to observe my thoughts. But Vipassana is definitely not easy, you know? It is not something I would say everyone should do it at any point of time in their life. I believe everyone should experience it depending on their mental state. They do advise for those that are taking medication, there's a whole application process. So if you are on certain medications or have certain mental disorders, they recommend not attending a Vipassana. So I would, one, seek professional counsel from your medical provider. Two, have an openness to know and be somewhat prepared for what you may experience that can shake your entire life upside down. I would love for you to go into it with an awareness and an openness, being ready to experience whatever happens. So some things that you may experience: itchiness, heaviness, soreness, anger, frustration, sadness. You may start even having dreams or nightmares that you've never had before. So whatever that you may be going through in your life right now, know that Vipassana will support in bringing it to the surface. And for many people, that may be something that is scary to hear, scary to experience. But at the end of the day, after completing a Vipassana, for me, I physically felt lighter. I mentally felt lighter. I felt as if I had gone through a tune-up of my mind, where I was able to clear a lot of the junk that was in there. So we take our cars for a tune-up to get cleaned and washed. We take care of our homes. We do a deep cleaning every once in a while. But when do we do a deep cleaning of the mind? And it's through meditation where we really tap into that, clearing out that awareness. And for me, working out physically and working out in general, like holistic wellness, incorporates what's going on up here. So the results, would I recommend it? Would I do it again? Yes, because I did do it again. Would I recommend it to my friends and family? Yes, because I have, and they have tried it after I have tried it. For those that have never meditated before, I would say try to sit in silence before actually going to a Vipassana retreat. Try to sit in silence for 5 to 10 minutes daily. If it's something that really causes you tension or frustration, I would still advise you to go to Vipassana, because Vipassana will support you in that. But I do advise you to have some type of support when you get back home. Someone that can hold space for you in a way that is either a medical professional, a counselor, a therapist, a close friend, a doula, whoever can support you, because you will be different. You'll be a different person when you come out than when you first went in. 10 out of 10, I recommend. Those are my final thoughts of Vipassana. 10 out of 10, I recommend. Can I say that I'm fully aware at every moment, at every point in my life? No. But who I am now versus who I was then, before Vipassana, before the very first Vipassana, is definitely a different individual. And I would highly recommend it. If you have any other questions on my Vipassana experience, please leave the questions down below in the comment section. If you'd like to hear more details about my Vipassana experience, let me know. If you'd like to hear about the second Vipassana experience, also let me know about that. But if you clicked on this video, there's something that's calling you to try a Vipassana course. And if I can be your internet friend to support in the journey, then you can reach out to me. I recommend it. And I'm sitting here looking at you through this camera lens to tell you that you can do it. You can do it. And I believe everyone should try it at least once in their lifetime. I thank you for watching this video until the end. And until next time, peace.